Hello everyone. We are now on week 7 because week 6 is exam week. So after talking about the basic concepts of ethics, I think we are now ready to talk about the different theories of ethics, and one of the theories is ethical relativism. So this is our topic for week 7. So before we will talk about the meaning and nature of this ethical relativism, its arguments and reasons, let us first understand the terms. So when we speak of relativism, it refers to the doctrine that knowledge, truth, and morality exist in relation to culture, society, or historical context and are not absolute. Okay, so that's relativism. So for example of relativism is about the concept of beauty. So example of the statement of relativism about beauty is that this statement, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, so meaning the beauty is relative to the one who perceives it. So that's an example of relativism. While ethical relativism, this doctrine holds that there are no absolute truths in ethics, and that what is morally right or wrong varies from person to person or from society to society. Okay, so since ethical relativism is a theory, what is a theory is that it is a supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. So this is important in understanding the ethical relativism theory. So these are the terms that we need to keep in mind. Okay, in talking about this theory, we have to first understand the relationship between culture and morality. Okay, culture differ widely in their moral practices. There are societies who make their moral there are societies that make their moral choices based on their unique beliefs, customs, and practices. So in fact, people tend to believe that the right moral values are the values that exist in their own culture. So some anthropologists point to a range of practices considered morally acceptable in some societies but condemned in others. This includes, for example, polygamy. Polygamy means uh, more than one marriages that happens between perhaps one party. So here in the Philippines, we have observed na the ones that practice aning polygamy is kaning mga atong igsuon nga mga Muslim, no, nga nang daghan og asawa, no, bana daghan og asawa, polygamy na siya. Okay, so this example may lead us to question whether there are universal moral principles or whether morality is merely a matter of cultural taste, no? The differences in moral practices across culture raised an important issue in ethics, no? This is why we have the concept of ethical relativism. So what is ethical relativism? In your screen, you find that statement, morality is relative to the norms of one's culture, meaning right and wrong depends on one's culture. This is the main point of ethical relativism. So it is a theory that holds that morality is relative to the norms of one's culture. That is, whether an action is right or wrong depends on the norms of the society in which it is practiced. So, the same action may be morally right in one society, but may be morally wrong in another. So, what is the reason for this? We have observed that each culture establishes the basic values and principles that serve as the foundation for morality. So, for an ethical relativist, there are no universal moral standards. In other words, there are no standards that can be universally applied to all peoples at all times. The only moral standard against which a society's practices can be judged are from its own. No? So, if this is correct, there can be no common framework for resolving moral disputes or for reaching agreement on ethical matters among members of different societies. Okay, so there are those who support this theory, but there are also those who do not adhere to this theory. Anyway, this ethical relativism reminds us that different societies have different moral beliefs, and that our beliefs are deeply influenced by culture. It also encourages us to explore the reasons underlying beliefs that differ from our own, while challenging us to examine our reasons for the beliefs and values we hold. So this is what ethical relativism is all about. Okay? At this point, let us talk about the two versions of ethical relativism. There are two versions of ethical relativism. Number one is individual or personal ethical relativism. Number two, social or cultural relativism. So what is the difference between the two? When we speak of individual or personal ethical relativism, the ethical statements are relative to the individual. For example, I have my ethical views and you have yours. Neither my views nor your views are better or more correct. So that's individual or personal ethical relativism. Now, social or cultural ethical relativism is that the ethical views or the ethical statements are relative to a given society. Some societies may differ or disagree as to what is right or wrong. For an individual to decide what is right or wrong, one must simply look to the norms of the society in which they live. So right and wrong simply is what a given society says it is. So that is social or cultural ethical relativism. Now let us continue with the most important points. We talk here about reasons for ethical relativism. So here are the supporting arguments for this ethical relativism for us to perhaps accept. Number one is diversity of moral views. So what does this mean? The actual fact that people and societies have and continue to disagree about the moral issues, they continue to hold different moral beliefs. So in short, the fact of disagreement and differences in moral beliefs is evidence for the claim that there are no objective moral truths, only subjective moral beliefs. So kaning nagkalain-lain na to nga mga moral views, mo na ni ang evidence nga we have to adhere ethical relativism. Okay. Second argument is that there is moral uncertainty. So this argument is all about talking about in the context of a dilemma. Despite our